Hana Ruhamah, the Kombucha Mama, here sharing this beautiful life, this beautiful planet with you all. I'm so excited for my guest today. Her name is Carla Atherton, and she'll be joining us in just a moment. And she is a director of the Lotus Health Project. Her bio here is fairly extensive, and if any of you have had any sort of family members who experience health challenges, I think you're going to find this conversation really important today, because Carla has been through it. She has lived it, and she has taken her lived experience. Yes, Carla, just click on the request to join button. We'll get you on here as soon as I'm done with your bio. Thank you. I'm so glad you're here. And so she has been through a challenge, and of course I'm going to let her share a bit of her journey, but out of that challenge, because every time there's a challenge, there's an opportunity for growth. Like, part of why we experience stress here on the planet. So Carla, assuming you're on your phone, you're going to see there's a little button that looks like a camera with a plus sign, and that's a request to join. Once you press that, then I can bring you on to the show. It's always a learning process here. But the point of what I was saying here is just that, like, if we lived in perfect ease, we would have no reason to grow, to change, or to evolve. And so why there's stress in our life. And I know we feel challenged by stress, and we always want to find ways to balance stress in our lives. And that's incredibly valuable. We want to do that. You can't do this from your computer. It has to be from a phone. We need to balance stress, because balance is what we're all about, right? It's called dis-ease. Dis-ease is what puts us into a state of not being in ease and flow. And so ease and flow doesn't just mean like, oh, things are easy. It means that even as challenge and stress and things are happening to us, we need to flow. We need to allow emotions. We need to allow energies to flow through us, because when we hold on to them, when they stick in our throat like a giant piece of undigested food, that eventually, right, we need to digest things, we need to process them, we need to break them down into smaller pieces, and just like fermentation, what happens then when we digest trauma, when we digest these things that are happening to us that are stressful or feel challenging, when we break it down, that creates nourishment, that creates fertilizer, that creates nutrients for new growth to happen. And so it can feel uncomfortable at times for us to go through these stressful processes, but the reality is, if we didn't, we would have no reason to change. We would just stay the same. And that's not what being alive is about. Being alive is about dynamism. It's about flow. It's about energy. And so I'm super excited. I think Carla is here to join us, so I'm going to go ahead and bring her on. But let me just quickly tell you a little bit about her. A director of the Lotus Health Project and the Healthy Family Formula Practice and Practitioner Training Academy. She's the host of the Children's Health Summit, family health consultant and coach, writer and editor, curriculum developer, publisher, workshop leader, yoga instructor, health revolutionary, children's health advocate. Are we so excited to meet Carla, or what? I sure am. So let's go ahead and bring her on. Welcome, Carla.
I've never done an Instagram live. With all the other stuff, so it's like, this is a new frontier. And wow, you're good at like keeping people busy and like doing the intro while you're still doing a little bit of air traffic controlling, which I call it. I had a really crazy morning. So, well, it wasn't crazy. It started off fine. And then I got a phone call with my son working through some stuff, which was so important. And then I was like, wow, I'm on in 15 minutes. So, wet hair, I'm here. I'm so excited.
You're here, and that's what's important, because you're sort of exemplifying what I was just talking about, which is like, stress is normal in life. Things aren't always going to go the way we want them to, but being able to find our flow within that is what's so crucial. And I think especially these last few years, people have really found we have to have a lot more grace, a lot more ease, and patience with ourselves and of course others, because we're all doing the best we can given the circumstances. But what I really love about your story and why I'm so excited you're here today is just how you took challenge and turned it into opportunity. So why don't you share a little bit about your story and how you became the Healthy Family Formula?
Okay, yeah, sure. I'd love to do that. It's such a, I mean, it's really hard to find an entry point to any story like this, I think, Hannah, because it's like, where do you start? Well, I was born in 1975. And, like, really, like, you can go
Me
on
too.
volumes. Where are you? Sweet.
Yes.
Good year. So, we could go on for volumes, but really, like, what are those pivotal moments for me? And there's so many now, even like they seem to be happening at exponential speed right now. And maybe they were always, but I'm really aware of it now that I kind of shine a light and a flashlight into a lot of areas of my life that I kind of just went through the motions before and didn't really realize what upgrades were happening, right? Until you reflect. So so if we talk about my history of like being more, I guess, maybe enlightened into the holistic field or functional medicine, where they talk a lot about the gut and you're talking about digestion. And I love how you make those parallels between digesting with the body and then also digesting in your life, so people often have like digestive problems when they have something they don't want to, I guess, assimilate or accept, or, like they're having a hard time digesting that. And a lot of the work I do puts the parallels between the physical body as well, mental, emotional, spiritual, like events, what's happening, our global environment, also like what's happening on the earth. Like we are very much part of nature, and not even separating those anymore. Cause we try to separate them to make sense of it, but they're not separate. They're not separate. When I say parallels, it's all aspects of our existence. Okay. So I'm not going to get too kind of cuckoo. I'm not going to go way out there just yet. Okay. But for me, like really, I think one of those pivotal moments, let's start with one, okay, was with a major diagnosis my daughter got. She was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, okay? So as probably your audience knows, like autoimmunity, and this is considered to be an autoimmune condition, which I actually have a lot of thoughts about what that means and what those definitions are too, that expand upon that functional medicine version. But really, like one of those issues when you have like an autoimmune condition kind of develop in your body is a leaky gut, right? So that's one of the things that is like in top three, right? Like the triad of autoimmunity. The other one is a genetic predisposition, which does not mean destiny. It means epigenetic. We are in control of that, but like there's some kind of weak link in the chain somewhere. That's the thesis, the hypothesis. And then the other one is like that environmental trigger. Like, what did we do? Did we go on a course of antibiotics for 2 weeks and, be exposed to mold? And, what was that bucket that like all those things that went into the bucket that made it overflow? And then the body said, okay, my nervous system's reacting. My immune system's responding to that nervous system reaction. And then, right, we've got some discombobulation happening here. So that was in 2012. And I don't want to keep going on and on. I want to have a conversation with you, not a monologue, but just to sort of wrap up that beginning story was I decided that like someone that has to know. I want to know why, what's going on. And I think though, maybe it is that, okay, let's use that metaphor you started with, Hannah, where I was trying to digest it all. And I had to break it down into little parts so that it could make sense and I could bring it up into my body to have it do what it needed to do. I had to understand it. And so I did that, and I went deep into functional medicine, and I got all these certifications, and I became a health coach and consultant, which I call it health coaching consultant on steroids, because it wasn't like, it was way beyond to diet and lifestyle and exercise to like the minutia, but I always return to the basics. So I do teach other practitioners to do that. I teach people how to do what I do. And I teach the complexities, but I say, wait, don't let that stop us from actually returning to what you probably talk about every single week. Eat your fermented foods, eat sprouts, eat green stuff, like make sure you look at your diet. Don't eat a bunch of like garbage, that garbage food goes in the garbage. You're not a garbage can. All that stuff, sleep well, exercise, rest, have fun. And majorly, like one of the top things is reduce your stress. And it doesn't mean like we don't have stressors. Like these are all stressors, but reduce the ones we don't need, toxic things. And then elevate our vibration by doing the things that, you know, actually feed you and nourish you and make your life worth living. So I got into a lot of that stuff. And my purpose was to heal, and reverse. And then I didn't realize that and I did realize at the time, but I was still very hyper focused on that. But I came to more conclusions as far like that were more well balanced, right? That you can't like burn out as a mom, you know, trying to help your kids, because that's not helping them. It's you're part of that symbiotic family. And, you know, if you're trashed and you're not doing all those things, then it's not helping your kids. And it's also hyper focus on them too, that makes these, the hyper focus can actually impede the healing. Let's just put it that way.
That sounds accurate in a way, right? Because what do they say in the airplane? Put the mask on yourself first. Like you have to fill your own well, heal the healer, right? The healer cannot give to others if they themselves aren't filled. And of course we know that healing really comes from each of us internally, and that desire to want to change and grow. Like somebody can't make you heal.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
You have to have that desire within yourself. And yes, receiving modalities, receiving gifts of healers is incredibly valuable, and we can see tremendous transformation in a short amount of time. But to your other point, you have more than one child potentially, right? And so again, or even if it's the only child, exactly, like if you only focus on this child, then you're creating a different type of potential, you know, emotional trauma. Look, we're never going to escape from trauma, from childhood, from our parents, from life. Like that's just normal. And in a way, it's part of the growth process. Like we have to have experiences in life that challenge us. And, you know, look, we've all been through it, whether that's physical, emotional, sexual, etc. Like you're going to experience trauma at some point in your life. But if we try to as we've seen sort of that backlash to sort of the helicopter parenting or things like this, where we're over concerned, then we don't also give the room, the breath, the space for our children to evolve into who they need to be. And I don't have human children. I have businesses that are my children. I have, you know, all kinds of other things that I nurture and love, but it's the same thing. If I overgive to, you know, either of my businesses and not back to myself, then I'm completely depleted. I'm not in a place where I can actually, you know, do what I need to support my teams, my all those kinds of things. So whatever dynamic you're in, whether that's that family dynamic with people in your home, whether it's that bigger dynamic of holding space for a business and things like that, there has to be balance in the system, which is what I think I hear you saying.
Yeah, I think totally. One thing I would like to do is expand on that idea that we always say, you know, put on that your own mask first. It's not even that, because you don't just leave everybody in the lurch while you're doing that. That's not even what's happening, because everybody in your family is still they're still living their lives. They're going through their own processes. They don't need you to rescue them necessarily. You're part of this process, and you may be a guide and you know, someone who knows a little more. You've been living a little longer than your kids. You know, you don't have the ooga booga brain anymore. You're past that developmental stage of like reaction, right? Like, hey, everybody's jumping off the cliff. Woo, let's go. It's gonna be fun. And don't realize like maybe it's shallow once you get into that water. Like it might not be a good idea. So of course we have those inputs, but I think it's more than that. It's more than like putting on the mask, because in those metaphors, we actually see this as like everything out there is sort of like bad, you know, like it's like there's threats everywhere. And so I think there's more to be had from that, shifting it into like, you know, and I kind of like, you know, filling yourself up, filling your own cup so you have some to overflow for everybody. I actually even teach a leadership model to my clients as well as my students, where we talk about like that leadership where you're like holding up the world, and like it's this woman with like the whole like globe on her shoulders, and that is actually trying to lead from a place of lack, you know, like where you're depleted, where there's extra you know, I guess like duties placed on your shoulders that aren't really yours, you know, like, or you're trying to fix everything, and like everything's a battle. And I love my warrior spirit. I'll tell you right now, I'm a warrior woman, and I love the rest of you warrior women like you wouldn't believe. Yet sometimes, like, I want to put down the sword. You know, I want to stop feeling like life is a battle. And so I focus more on like gratitude and love and all that stuff. It doesn't mean you don't seek. It means that you seek for evolution, but you understand that that healing is always possible at every moment. Always, like, there is literally like moment to moment to moment, we are new. And so, yes, this evolutionary process is the why, right? But it doesn't get us healed if we keep asking why, because there's no space for something new, right? So that's that's my evolution. That's what I've been learning from that day, and before that, obviously, to now, is that I am less inclined to want to fix, because another thing we do there, Hannah, is like tell our kids and ourselves that we're broken in the first place. And we're not broken. We're just going through, like you said, an evolution, and even our languaging around how we see, you know, like our environment, like, you know, putting on the gas mask, like, are we getting gassed? Like, is it really that bad out there? Like, I don't think it is, you know, even something so profound. And I'll tell you, if I get lost in my story, it's pretty devastating. If I say the statistics of children who have type 1 diabetes and they get older, they have more miscarriage, they die earlier, they have heart attacks, you know, you really have to manage it, or else they could have kidney failure, they have neuropathy. If I was to get lost in those medical diagnoses and the limits that they place on us, I would be distraught. And I would not have space for anything new, any sort of healing, anything better or different than what we had experienced yesterday. I don't want to keep experiencing yesterday. The whole point is to find out yesterday's root cause resolution, right? We know this in functional medicine. Find the root, then you see what you can do about it. But we can get stuck there. So I don't go there. I don't go there, because I know that my seeking answers is only so that I can take out the toxicities. I can nourish where there's deficiencies. I can modulate and balance out and find harmony in the nervous system so that the body's immune system responds appropriately. That's my entire model right there. If anybody wants to know what I teach day in and day out, that's the model.